In the heart of a bustling city, where streets buzzed with life and cultures intertwined, there stood a cozy little restaurant named Soulful Bites. It wasn't fancy or luxurious like the high-end eateries nearby, but it had something those places lacked: warmth. The walls were painted in soft, earthy tones, decorated with vibrant artwork from local artists. The aroma of freshly cooked meals wafted through the air, drawing people in from all walks of life. At the center of it all was Maya Thompson, a determined black woman who poured her heart and soul into making this place special. Maya had always dreamed of owning a business that brought people together. Growing up, she'd watched her grandmother cook for their family, turning simple ingredients into feasts filled with love. Those memories stayed with her as she worked tirelessly to build Soulful Bites. What most customers didn't know, however, was that Maya didn't just run the restaurant, she owned the entire building. It was a secret she kept close, not out of pride, but because she believed it didn't matter who held the deed. What mattered was how the space made people feel: welcomed, valued, and at home. On one particular Friday evening, the restaurant was busier than usual. People streamed in after work, chatting animatedly about their day or laughing over plates of food. Maya moved gracefully between tables, greeting patrons with her warm smile. She loved watching strangers bond over shared meals, knowing her hard work played a part in creating these moments. But little did she know, this night would change everything. As the clock struck 7, the door swung open and a man walked in. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, and carried himself with an air of authority. His name was Richard Dawson, a well-known real estate developer infamous for buying up old properties and transforming them into luxury condos. Richard rarely visited places like Soulful Bites. His world revolved around sleek skyscrapers and exclusive clubs. Yet here he was, scanning the room with a look of disdain etched across his face. Without hesitation, Richard strode toward the hostess stand. "I need to speak to the manager," he demanded curtly, his voice cutting through the cheerful hum of conversation. When Maya approached him, he barely glanced at her, dismissing her presence before she even spoke. "This place is disgusting," he sneered, gesturing vaguely at the dining area. "How can you let these kinds of people eat here?" Maya blinked, caught off guard by his rudeness. Her first instinct was to defend her establishment, but she forced herself to remain calm. "Sir," she said politely, "we welcome everyone here. If there's something specific you'd like to discuss—" "I don't need to discuss anything," Richard interrupted sharply, raising his voice. "You clearly have no idea what you're doing. This is my property now, and I'm shutting this dump down." The room went silent. Conversations halted mid-sentence as heads turned toward the commotion. Maya felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had faced challenges before. Starting a business wasn't easy, but nothing prepared her for the blatant disrespect radiating from this man. Still, she refused to let anger take over. Instead, she straightened her posture and met his gaze. "Head on." "Excuse me?" she asked, her tone firm yet controlled. "Did you say this is your property?" "Yes," Richard snapped, puffing out his chest. "And I'm telling you to get out. All of you. Now." His words hung heavy in the air, dripping with condescension. For a moment, Maya felt frozen. Then, slowly, realization dawned on her. This man hadn't done his research. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Reaching under the counter, Maya retrieved a folder containing official documents, proof that she owned not only the restaurant but also the entire building. With deliberate calm, she placed the folder on the table between them. Richard stared at her, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What's this?" he asked, his confidence wavering slightly. "This," Maya replied, locking eyes with him, "is proof that I own this building. Not you, me." Another wave of silence swept through the room as gasps rippled among the crowd. Richard's face flushed red as he flipped through the papers, each page confirming what Maya had just declared. The reality hit him like a punch, to the gut. He had made a grave mistake. You tricked me," he stammered, trying to salvage whatever dignity he could muster. But Maya wasn't about to back down. No, sir, she said coolly, her voice carrying just enough edge to command attention. You assumed, and your assumptions led you straight into making a fool of yourself. Her words echoed in the stunned silence. Slowly, applause began to ripple through the room. Customers clapped enthusiastically, some cheering loudly while others simply smiled in quiet satisfaction. Richard, realizing he had lost control of the situation, sputtered incoherently before storming out of the restaurant, slamming the door behind him. Though the confrontation ended quickly, its impact lingered long after Richard disappeared. Patrons lingered at their tables, buzzing with excitement over what they had witnessed. Many approached Maya to congratulate her, thanking her for standing up against such blatant racism. For Maya, the moment was bittersweet. While she was proud of how she handled the situation, it reminded her of the countless times she, and others like her, had been dismissed or underestimated because of the color of their skin. That night, as the last customer left and the staff cleaned up, Maya sat alone at a corner table reflecting on what had happened. She knew this incident wouldn't be the end of her struggles. Racism and prejudice weren't issues that could be solved overnight. But tonight, in this small restaurant nestled in the heart of the city, something powerful had occurred. A community had rallied together, proving that unity could triumph over hatred. And Maya, she had shown the world exactly what it meant to stand tall, even when the odds seemed stacked against her. As the lights dimmed and the doors locked for the night, Maya allowed herself a small smile. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now she let the victory sink in. Little did she know this was only the beginning of a journey that would inspire countless others and leave an indelible mark on the city she called home. The next morning, Maya woke up to a flood of messages and notifications on her phone. Social media had exploded with posts about the confrontation at Soulful Bites. Customers who witnessed the incident shared their stories praising Maya for her courage and composure. Videos of Richard's angry outburst and Maya's calm response went viral, racking up thousands of views within hours. Local news outlets picked up the story, dubbing it the restaurant showdown and turning Maya into an overnight sensation. Reporters flocked to Soulful Bites, eager to interview the woman behind the viral moment. Camera crews lined up outside the building, microphones in hand, hoping to catch a glimpse of Maya. At first, she felt overwhelmed by the sudden attention. She wasn't used to being in the spotlight. Her focus had always been on running her business and serving her community. But as she read through the comments online, she realized this was more than just a personal victory. People saw themselves in her story. They admired her resilience and recognized the everyday struggles faced by marginalized communities. This was bigger than her. It was about standing up against injustice. Maya decided to embrace the opportunity. She gave interviews to local newspapers and TV stations, using her platform to speak out about racism and inequality. What happened that night wasn't just about me, she told one reporter. It was about every person who has ever been treated unfairly because of their race or background. We deserve respect, no matter where we come from or what we look like. Her words resonated deeply with viewers. Many reached out to thank her, sharing their own experiences of discrimination. Maya listened intently, feeling both heartbroken and inspired. Heartbroken because so many people had endured similar pain, and inspired because she now had a chance to make a difference. She began organizing events at the restaurant, panel discussions, workshops, and fundraisers to raise awareness about systemic racism and support underprivileged groups. The once quiet eatery transformed into a hub of activism, drawing activists, artists, and advocates from across the city. But fame came with challenges. Richard, humiliated and furious over the public backlash, refused to let the matter rest. He launched a smear campaign against Maya, spreading false rumors about unsanitary conditions at Soulful Bites and accusing her of harassing him. He even filed a lawsuit, claiming defamation despite having no evidence to back his claims. For weeks, Maya found herself caught in a whirlwind of legal battles and negative press. Critics questioned her motives, suggesting she had orchestrated the entire incident for publicity. It was exhausting and demoralizing. Yet Maya didn't crumble under the pressure. Instead, she leaned on her support system, the loyal staff and patrons who stood by her side. Together, they rallied to defend. The restaurant. Health inspectors conducted surprise visits only to give Soulful Bites glowing reviews. Longtime customers posted testimonials online, vouching for the cleanliness and quality of the food. When Richard's lawsuit was dismissed due to lack of merit, it was a clear win for Maya and her team. Still, the ordeal left her drained, reminding her how far society still had to go in addressing prejudice. Despite the challenges, Maya remained determined to turn the controversy into something positive. She partnered with local organizations to launch job training programs for underprivileged youth, teaching them skills in cooking, hospitality, and entrepreneurship. Artists painted murals on the exterior walls of the restaurant, celebrating diversity and resilience. Activists hosted workshops inside, educating the public about systemic racism and ways to combat it. What started as a small neighborhood eatery had evolved into a symbol of hope and unity. One evening after closing time, Maya sat alone in the dimly lit dining room. She stared at the mural on the wall, a vibrant depiction of hands of all colors intertwined, and thought about how far she'd come. Just months ago, she was simply trying to keep her business afloat. Now she was leading a movement, inspiring others to challenge prejudice and fight for equality. It was a responsibility she hadn't asked for, but one she embraced wholeheartedly. As word of her efforts spread, invitations poured in from schools, universities, and conferences asking her to speak. At first, Maya hesitated. Public speaking wasn't her strong suit, and she worried about saying the wrong thing. But her friends encouraged her, reminding her of the impact her words could have. So she accepted the invitations, stepping onto stages large and small to share her story. Her speeches were simple yet powerful, rooted in honesty and vulnerability. "Never let someone else define your worth," she would say, her voice steady and unwavering. "You are enough, just as you are. Stand tall, even when the world tries to push you down." Audiences listened intently, moved by her authenticity. After each talk, people approached her to express gratitude, some even breaking down in tears. Maya hugged them, offering words of encouragement and reminding them they weren't alone. Through it all, Maya stayed grounded, refusing to let success inflate her ego. She continued working alongside her staff, rolling up her sleeves to cook, clean, and serve customers. To her, Soulful Bites wasn't just a business, it was a family, and families stuck together, especially during tough times. As the months passed, the restaurant thrived. Lines stretched around the block, not only because of the delicious food, but also because of the values it represented. People wanted to be part of something meaningful, something that stood for justice and equality. Maya expanded the menu, incorporating dishes inspired by different cultures to reflect the diversity of her community. She hired more employees, ensuring everyone received fair wages and opportunities for growth. Every decision she made reinforced her commitment to creating a better world. On the anniversary of the infamous incident, Maya hosted a special event at Soulful Bites. Hundreds of people attended, including many who had been present that fateful night. As she addressed the crowd, tears glistened in her eyes. "We've come so far," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "But our journey isn't over yet. Let's keep pushing forward together." The applause that followed was thunderous, echoing through the streets long after the celebration ended. That night, as Maya locked up the restaurant, she took a moment to breathe it all in. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she knew she wasn't walking it alone. With her community by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, Maya's story became legend, a reminder that courage and conviction could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. Her legacy lived on not only in the thriving businesses she built, but also in the countless lives she touched along the way. In the heart of the city, Soulful Bites stood as a beacon of hope, proving that love and unity could triumph over hate. In the weeks following the incident, Maya found herself navigating a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, she felt empowered by the outpouring of support from her community and beyond. People from all over the city, and even neighboring towns, were visiting Soulful Bites, eager to meet the woman who had stood up to racism with grace and strength. Strangers stopped her on the street to shake her hand or thank her for inspiring them. Local businesses offered discounts to customers dining at her restaurant, showing solidarity in ways both big and small. But on the other hand, the weight of Richard's smear campaign began to take its toll. False accusations about unsanitary conditions spread like wildfire online, fueled by trolls and anonymous accounts. Some commenters attacked Maya personally, questioning her character and motives. Others dismissed her story altogether, claiming it was staged for attention. For someone who had always preferred staying out of the limelight, this level of scrutiny was overwhelming. Maya knew she couldn't ignore the negativity. Ignoring it would mean letting Richard win, and that wasn't an option. Instead, she decided to tackle the lies head-on. With the help of her staff and loyal patrons, she organized a transparency day at the restaurant. They invited health inspectors, journalists, and members of the public to tour the kitchen, see the cleanliness standards firsthand, and ask any questions they had. The event was a resounding success. Health inspectors gave glowing reports, praising Maya's commitment to hygiene and safety. Journalists wrote articles debunking the false claims, further solidifying Soulful Bites' reputation as a model establishment. Richard's attempts to discredit Maya only backfired, making him look petty and vindictive. His lawsuit against her was dismissed within weeks due to lack of evidence, leaving him red-faced and defeated. Still, the ordeal left Maya drained. Late at night, after the restaurant closed and the crowds dispersed, she often sat alone in the quiet dining room, reflecting on everything that had happened. She replayed the confrontation with Richard in her mind, analyzing every word and action. Had she done enough? Could she have handled it differently? Her doubts were fleeting, though. When morning came, she reminded herself of why she started Soulful Bites in the first place, to create a space where everyone felt welcome. And if standing up to racism meant enduring criticism and backlash, so be it. Her purpose was bigger than herself. The controversy surrounding the restaurant brought unexpected opportunities. Schools and community centers began reaching out, asking Maya to speak about her experience. At first, she hesitated. Public speaking terrified her. She worried about stumbling over her words or saying something wrong. But her friends encouraged her, reminding her of the impact her voice could have. "You're not just telling your story," one of them said. "You're giving people hope." So Maya agreed to give it a try. Her first speaking engagement was at a local high school. Standing before a room full of teenagers, she felt nervous but determined. She spoke honestly about growing up in a world where prejudice was pervasive, sharing stories of times she'd been underestimated or dismissed because of her race. She talked about the night Richard tried to kick her out of her own restaurant, and how it taught her the importance of knowing your worth. "Don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong," she told the students, her voice steady despite her nerves. "You are valuable no matter what anyone says." By the end of her speech, the entire auditorium erupted in applause. Students lined up to hug her, thanking her for being brave and relatable. One girl approached her afterward, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't think anyone understood what I go through," she whispered. "Thank you for showing me I'm not alone." That moment stayed with Maya long after she left the school. It reminded her why she kept pushing forward even when things got hard. As word of her speeches spread, more invitations poured in, from colleges, conferences, and nonprofit organizations. Each time she stepped onto a stage, Maya grew more confident. She tailored her talks to resonate with different audiences, weaving humor, vulnerability, and wisdom into her words. Whether addressing a room of activists or corporate executives, she never shied away from uncomfortable truths. Racism, she emphasized, wasn't just about overt acts of hatred. It was also embedded in systems and structures that perpetuated inequality. "We can't fix what we refuse to acknowledge," she often said, "but together, we can build something better." Her advocacy extended beyond speeches. Inspired by the mural painted on the restaurant's exterior, Maya launched an art initiative called Voices of Unity. Local artists were invited to create pieces celebrating diversity and resilience, which were displayed inside the restaurant and eventually auctioned off to raise funds for marginalized communities. The initiative gained traction quickly, drawing participants from across the country. Murals popped up in parks, schools, and community centers, each one carrying a message of hope and inclusion. Maya also partnered with grassroots organizations to expand her impact. Together, they hosted workshops on racial equity, mental health awareness, and financial literacy. Job training programs for underprivileged youth flourished, providing participants with skills in cooking, hospitality, and entrepreneurship. Many graduates went on to secure stable employment or start their own ventures, crediting Maya and Soulful Bites for changing their lives. Despite her growing influence, Maya remained deeply connected to her roots. She continued working alongside her staff, rolling up her sleeves to cook, clean, and serve customers. To her, leadership wasn't about standing above others, it was about standing beside them. She made it a point to learn everyone's name, listen to their stories, and celebrate their achievements. Employees weren't just workers to her, they were family. One evening, as the restaurant buzzed with activity, Maya noticed a young server named Jamal struggling to keep up with orders. He looked overwhelmed, his hands trembling as he balanced plates. Concerned, Maya pulled him aside during a break. "What's going on?" she asked gently. Jamal hesitated before opening up about his struggles. His mother had fallen ill, and medical bills were piling up. He was working double shifts to make ends meet but feared it wasn't enough. Without hesitation, Maya sprang into action. She rallied the staff to organize a fundraiser, pooling tips and hosting a benefit dinner. Customers donated generously, moved by Jamal's story. Within days, they raised enough money to cover his mother's treatment. When Maya handed him the check, Jamal broke down in tears. "I don't know how to thank you," he stammered. Maya smiled warmly. "You already have," she replied. "Just keep doing what you're doing. That's all the thanks I need." Moments like these reinforced Maya's belief in the power of community. Every act of kindness rippled outward, creating waves of change. Soulful Bites wasn't just a restaurant. It was a movement, a testament to what could be achieved when people came together for a common cause. As months turned into years, Maya's efforts bore fruit in ways she never imagined. The restaurant became a cornerstone of the neighborhood, a place where people gathered not just to eat but to connect, learn, and grow. Activists held rallies outside its doors. Artists showcased their work on its walls, and families celebrated milestones within its cozy confines. What started as a dream had transformed into a legacy. Yet Maya never lost sight of her mission. She knew the fight against racism and inequality was far from over. There would always be more battles to wage, more barriers to break, but she faced the future with unwavering optimism, buoyed by the knowledge that she wasn't fighting alone. With her community by her side, she believed anything was possible. And so, Maya Thompson continued blazing trails, proving that courage, compassion, and conviction could light the way even in the darkest of times. Her story served as a beacon of hope, reminding everyone who heard it that no matter how daunting the odds, standing tall could move mountains. Years passed, and Maya's influence continued to grow. The restaurant, Soulful Bites, had become more than just a place to eat. It was a symbol of resilience, unity, and empowerment. People visited not only for the delicious food, but also to soak in the atmosphere of hope that permeated every corner. The walls were adorned with new murals celebrating diverse cultures, stories, and dreams. Artists from across the city contributed their talents, turning the space into an ever-evolving gallery of inspiration. Yet, despite the accolades and recognition, Maya remained grounded. She woke up each morning with the same goal: to make a difference, one person at a time. One day, as she sipped her morning coffee in the quiet dining room before opening hours, a letter arrived in the mail. It was addressed to her personally, written on plain white paper without any return address. Curious, Maya opened it and began to read. The letter was from a young woman named Jasmine, who had attended one of Maya's speeches at a community college years earlier. Jasmine wrote about how Maya's words had changed her life. At the time, she had been struggling with self-doubt, unsure if she could pursue her dream of becoming a teacher. But hearing Maya talk about standing tall, despite adversity, gave her the courage to keep going. Now Jasmine was finishing her degree and preparing to teach in underserved communities. Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes. She had no idea her words had such a profound impact. Letters like this weren't uncommon. They arrived sporadically, tucked among bills and promotional flyers. But each one reminded her why she did what she did. These stories fueled her passion and reinforced her belief in the power of collective action. If one speech or one meal at Soulful Bites could inspire someone to chase their dreams, then all the hard work was worth it. That same week, Maya received another invitation, this time to speak at a national conference on racial equity. The event would bring together activists, policymakers, and thought leaders from across the country. While honored, Maya hesitated. Speaking locally was one thing, but addressing a national audience felt daunting. What could she, a restaurant owner from a small neighborhood, possibly offer to people working on such a large scale? Her staff encouraged her to accept. "You've already inspired so many people," said Carla, her head chef and closest confidant. "Imagine how many more you'll reach if you say yes." After some deliberation, Maya agreed. She spent weeks preparing for the speech, poring over notes and rehearsing late into the night. She wanted to ensure her message resonated deeply, especially with those who might dismiss her because of her background. When the day of the conference arrived, Maya stood backstage, clutching her notes tightly. Her heart raced as she listened to the speaker before her wrap up their presentation. Then, it was her turn. Walking onto the stage, she took a deep breath and looked out at the sea of faces. For a moment, she felt overwhelmed. But then she remembered something her grandmother used to say: "Speak from your heart and people will listen." Maya began by sharing her story, the struggles of starting Soulful Bites, the racism she faced, and the journey that followed. She spoke candidly about the challenges of running a business while advocating for social justice, admitting there were days when she doubted herself. But she also emphasized the importance of perseverance. "Change doesn't happen overnight," she said, her voice steady and sincere. "It's built brick by brick through small acts of courage and kindness. Don't underestimate the power of what you can do right where you are." The audience erupted in applause, rising to their feet in a standing ovation. Afterward, dozens of attendees approached her to thank her, sharing their own stories and asking for advice. One man, a policymaker from a neighboring state, expressed interest in partnering with her to implement job training programs similar to the one she ran at Soulful Bites. Another woman, a professor, invited Maya to collaborate on research, exploring the intersection of food, culture, and activism. By the end of the conference, Maya left with a notebook full of ideas and connections that would shape the next chapter of her journey. Back home, Maya wasted no time putting those ideas into action. With support from her newfound partners, she expanded the restaurant's initiatives, creating a nonprofit arm called Soulful Futures. The organization focused on 3 key areas: education, employment, and advocacy. Scholarships were established for students pursuing careers in hospitality and culinary arts. Job fairs were organized to connect underprivileged youth with local employers. Workshops on racial equity and allyship became regular fixtures, drawing participants from all walks of life. One of the most impactful projects was a mentorship program pairing young entrepreneurs with experienced business owners. Participants learned everything from financial planning to marketing strategies, gaining the tools they needed to succeed. Many went on to launch their own ventures, crediting Soulful Futures for providing the guidance and resources they lacked. Maya often joked that she was raising a generation of bosses, but her pride in their achievements was evident. Despite her growing list of accomplishments, Maya never forgot the importance of staying connected to her roots. Every Friday evening, she hosted community nights at the restaurant, inviting locals to share meals and stories. Tables were pushed together to create a long communal setup, encouraging conversation and connection. Musicians performed live, filling the air with soulful melodies. Children laughed and played while adults discussed everything from politics to parenting. These gatherings fostered a sense of belonging, reminding everyone that they were part of something greater than themselves. One particularly memorable community night featured a surprise guest, Jamal, the young server whose mother Maya had helped years earlier. Now a successful entrepreneur, he returned to thank her publicly. Standing at the microphone, he recounted his journey, from struggling to make ends meet to building a thriving catering business. "I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Maya and this amazing community," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself." The room erupted in cheers and Maya wiped away tears as she hugged him tightly. As the years rolled on, Maya's efforts earned her numerous awards and honors. She graced magazine covers, appeared on talk shows, and even received an honorary doctorate from a prestigious university. Yet, none of these accolades compared to the joy she felt seeing lives transformed through her work. To her, success wasn't measured by trophies or titles. It was measured by the smiles on people's faces, the confidence in their strides, and the hope in their hearts. Still, Maya knew the fight for equality was far from over. Racism and prejudice persisted, manifesting in new forms and contexts. But she refused to let cynicism dampen her spirit. Instead, she channeled her energy into fostering understanding and empathy. She believed change started with conversations, honest, uncomfortable, and sometimes messy conversations. And there was no better place for those conversations than around a table filled with good food and open hearts. By the time Maya celebrated the 10th anniversary of Soulful Bites, the restaurant had grown beyond anything she could have imagined. Additional locations opened across the city, each one carrying the same mission of inclusivity and empowerment. The original location remained a cherished landmark, its walls now lined with photographs documenting the journey, protests, fundraisers, art exhibits, and countless shared meals. On the anniversary night, hundreds of people gathered to mark the occasion, spilling out onto the streets as music and laughter filled the air. As Maya addressed the crowd, she reflected on how far they'd come, and how much farther they still had to go. "We've built something beautiful here," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "But our work isn't done. Let's continue breaking barriers, lifting each other up, and proving that love is stronger than hate." The cheers that followed echoed through the neighborhood, a testament to the power of unity. And so Maya Thompson kept moving forward, driven by the belief that even the smallest actions could spark monumental change. Her story served as a reminder that courage, compassion, and community could transform not just a single life, but an entire world. As the years rolled on, Maya's legacy continued to grow, but she never allowed herself to become complacent. The success of Soulful Bites and Soulful Futures brought her immense pride, yet she remained acutely aware of the challenges still facing her community. Racism, inequality, and systemic injustice were deeply entrenched issues that couldn't be solved overnight, or even in a lifetime. But Maya believed in progress, no matter how slow or incremental. She often reminded herself, and others, every step forward is a victory, no matter how small. One spring morning, as Maya unlocked the doors of the original Soulful Bites location, she noticed a young boy standing outside, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. His clothes were worn, and his sneakers had holes in them, but his eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said shyly, holding out the paper. "My teacher said I should give this to you." Maya smiled warmly and took the note. It was a handwritten letter from the boy's teacher, explaining that he was part of a class project on local heroes. The students were tasked with interviewing someone who inspired them, and this boy, his name was Marcus, had chosen Maya. Touched by the gesture, Maya invited Marcus inside. Over pancakes and orange juice, they talked for nearly an hour. Marcus asked questions about her journey, her struggles, and what kept her motivated. At one point, he looked at her with wide eyes and said, "I want to be like you when I grow up, someone who helps people." Maya felt a lump rise in her throat. She reached across the table and patted his hand. You already are, Marcus, she said softly. Anyone who wants to make the world better is a hero. After Marcus left, Maya sat quietly for a while, reflecting on their conversation. It struck her how much weight children carried on their shoulders these days. The pressures of school, family struggles, societal expectations. Yet, despite it all, they still dreamed of making a difference. That realization strengthened her resolve to focus more of her efforts on youth empowerment. If she could inspire even one child to believe in themselves, then her work was meaningful. Inspired by her encounter with Marcus, Maya launched a new initiative called Young Leaders Rising. The program aimed to nurture leadership skills in children aged 8 to 14 through workshops, mentorship, and hands-on projects. Participants learned about teamwork, problem-solving, and empathy, using real-world scenarios to practice what they'd been taught. One popular activity involved organizing mini-community events, such as park cleanups or food drives, giving kids the chance to see the tangible impact of their efforts. The program quickly gained traction, attracting not only local families but also educators eager to incorporate its principles into their classrooms. Teachers reported seeing noticeable changes in their students, increased confidence, improved communication skills, and a greater sense of responsibility. Parents thanked Maya for providing a safe space where their children could explore their potential without fear of judgment. For many kids, the Young Leaders Rising became a lifeline, offering guidance and support during challenging times. One standout participant was a girl named Aaliyah, whose story touched Maya deeply. Aaliyah came from a troubled home, often arriving at the restaurant with bruises on her arms and sadness in her eyes. Despite her hardships, she threw herself into the program with remarkable determination. She led a team that organized a book drive for underprivileged schools, collecting hundreds of titles in just 2 weeks. When Maya praised her for her hard work, Aaliyah beamed. "This is the first time anyone's ever told me I'm good at something," she admitted. Those words stayed with Maya long after the event ended, fueling her commitment to creating opportunities for children like Aaliyah. While Maya poured her energy into empowering the next generation, she also faced challenges closer to home. As Soulful Bites expanded, so did the demands of managing multiple locations. Staffing shortages, supply chain disruptions, and rising operational costs tested her patience and resilience. There were days when she questioned whether she could keep going, especially when criticism arose from unexpected places. Some critics accused her of losing sight of her original mission, claiming the newer restaurants lacked the charm and authenticity of the original location. Others argued that her nonprofit ventures diluted her focus, suggesting she should stick to running a business rather than trying to save the world. These comments stung, not because they were entirely baseless, but because they forced Maya to confront difficult truths. Was she spreading herself too thin? Had growth come at the expense of her core values? Determined to address these concerns, Maya called a meeting with her senior staff. Together, they reviewed every aspect of the operation, identifying areas where improvements could be made. They streamlined processes, retrained employees, and reintroduced elements that had defined the original Soulful Bites, such as live music nights and art showcases. Most importantly, they reaffirmed their commitment to inclusivity, ensuring that every location reflected the same spirit of unity and acceptance. The changes paid off. Customers responded positively, praising the renewed focus on quality and community. Critics softened their stance, acknowledging Maya's willingness to adapt and improve. Through it all, Maya reminded herself of a lesson she'd learned early on. Growth wasn't about perfection. It was about learning, evolving, and staying true to your purpose. Amidst the busyness of managing her expanding empire, Maya found solace in the little moments, the quiet connections that reminded her why she started this journey in the first place. Whether it was chatting with regular customers over coffee, mentoring young entrepreneurs, or simply watching families enjoy meals together, these interactions grounded her. They served as constant reminders that her work wasn't about accolades or profits, it was about people. One particularly poignant moment occurred during a visit to one of the newer Soulful Bites locations. As Maya walked through the dining room, she overheard a group of teenagers discussing college applications. One girl mentioned how nervous she was about writing her personal statement. Without hesitation, Maya pulled up a chair and joined the conversation. She shared tips on storytelling, encouraging the teens to highlight their unique experiences and perspectives. By the end of the meal, the girl seemed visibly more confident, thanking Maya for taking the time to help. It was moments like these, unplanned, unscripted, and deeply human, that filled Maya's heart with joy. She realized that while speeches and programs had their place, sometimes the most impactful acts of kindness were the simplest ones. A listening ear, a word of encouragement, a shared laugh. These were the threads that wove communities together. By the time summer arrived, Maya was busier than ever. In addition to overseeing the restaurants and nonprofit initiatives, she began working on a memoir chronicling her journey. Writing the book proved to be both cathartic and challenging. Reliving certain memories, the discrimination she faced, the sleepless nights spent worrying about finances, brought tears to her eyes. But revisiting moments of triumph, the opening of each new location, the success stories of former employees and mentees, filled her with gratitude and hope. The memoir, titled Standing Tall, A Journey of Courage and Community, was released in the fall. It quickly climbed bestseller lists, resonating with readers from all walks of life. People praised Maya's honesty and vulnerability, saying her story gave them strength during their own struggles. Bookstores hosted signing events, drawing crowds eager to meet the woman behind the words. At one event, a middle-aged man approached, tears streaming down his face. "Your book saved my marriage," he confessed. "Reading about how you forgave Richard made me realize I needed to forgive my brother." Such encounters reinforced Maya's belief in the power of storytelling. Sharing her experiences wasn't just about documenting her life. It was about building bridges, fostering understanding, and inspiring others to find light in the darkness. As the year drew to a close, Maya reflected on everything she had achieved and everything she still hoped to accomplish. She knew the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth. Challenges would arise, doubts would creep in, and sacrifices would need to be made. But she also knew she wasn't alone. Her community stood beside her, cheering her on every step of the way. On New Year's Eve, Maya gathered her staff, friends, and family at the original Soulful Bites location for a celebration. As fireworks lit up the sky outside, she raised a glass and spoke from the heart. "We've built something extraordinary here," she said, her voice steady with emotion. "But our greatest achievements aren't the awards or the expansions. They're the lives we've touched. Let's carry that spirit into the new year and beyond. Together we can create a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued." The room erupted in cheers, glasses clinking as laughter and music filled the air. Outside, the city buzzed, with anticipation for the year ahead. Inside, surrounded by the people she loved, Maya felt a profound sense of peace. Whatever the future held, she was ready to face it, with courage, compassion, and an unwavering belief in the power of community. Years turned into decades, and Maya Thompson's name became synonymous with resilience, kindness, and progress. Her journey from a struggling restaurant owner to a national figure in the fight for equality was nothing short of extraordinary. Yet, despite her achievements, she remained deeply connected to the roots that had grounded her throughout her life. Soulful Bites continued to thrive, not just as a business, but as a cornerstone of hope and unity in the community. By now, the original location of the restaurant had been transformed into a cultural landmark. Its walls were covered with photographs, newspaper clippings, and memorabilia documenting Maya's journey. The protests she attended, the speeches she delivered, the lives she touched. Visitors came from all over the world to experience the magic of the place where it all began. Some came to eat, others came to learn, but everyone left inspired. Maya herself rarely stayed in one spot for long. Even in her later years, she traveled frequently, speaking at conferences, visiting schools, and mentoring young leaders. She often joked that retirement wasn't an option because the world won't stop needing fixing. Still, she made time to return to Soulful Bites regularly, ensuring the values she had instilled in the business remained intact. To her, the restaurant wasn't just a legacy. It was a living testament to what could be achieved when people worked together toward a common goal. One crisp autumn morning, Maya received an invitation that would mark a pivotal moment in her journey. The mayor of the city announced plans to rename a street near the restaurant after her, Maya Thompson Way. It was a gesture meant to honor her contributions to the community, but Maya initially hesitated to accept. "I didn't do this for recognition," she told Carla, her longtime friend and head chef. "I did it because it was the right thing to do." Carla smiled knowingly. "You're not accepting it for yourself," she said gently. "You're doing it for everyone who looks up to you, for every kid who dreams of making a difference, for every woman who's been told she can't lead, for every person of color who's faced discrimination. This is bigger than you." Reluctantly, Maya agreed. On the day of the ceremony, hundreds of people gathered outside the restaurant, spilling onto the sidewalks and nearby streets. Local musicians performed, children waved handmade signs, and speakers took turns sharing stories of how Maya had impacted their lives. When it was her turn to speak, Maya stepped up to the podium, her voice steady despite the emotion swelling within her. "This street isn't named after me," she said, looking out at the crowd. "It's named after all of us. For every act of courage, every moment of kindness, every effort to make this world a better place. Let this serve as a reminder that we are stronger together." The applause that followed was thunderous, echoing through the neighborhood like a promise, a vow to carry forward the spirit of unity and determination that Maya embodied. As the years went on, Maya began to slow down physically, though her mind remained sharp. She spent more time writing, penning articles and essays about social justice, leadership, and the importance of community. Her second book, Together We Rise, became another bestseller, praised for its practical advice and heartfelt anecdotes. Teachers incorporated her writings into their curriculums, and activists cited her words during rallies and campaigns. But perhaps her greatest joy came from watching the next generation step into their own roles as changemakers. Many of the young people she had mentored through programs like Young Leaders Rising were now leading movements of their own. Aaliyah, the girl who once organized the book drive, had become a published author and advocate for literacy. Jamal ran a thriving catering company that prioritized hiring formerly incarcerated individuals. And Marcus, the boy who once dreamed of being a hero, was now a teacher inspiring his students to dream big. Each success story filled Maya with pride, reminding her that change was possible, not through grand gestures alone, but through the collective efforts of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. She often said, "Heroes aren't born, they're made. One decision, one action, one day at a time." In her final years, Maya dedicated herself to preserving the lessons she had learned. She partnered with historians and archivists to create a digital archive of her work, ensuring future generations could access her speeches, writings, and interviews. She also established a scholarship fund in her name, providing financial support to students pursuing careers in social justice, education, and entrepreneurship. Though age brought its challenges, Maya faced them with the same grace and resilience she had shown throughout her life. When health issues forced her to reduce her travel schedule, she adapted by hosting virtual events and webinars. Friends and family marveled at her ability to stay positive, even in difficult times. "She doesn't dwell on what she can't do," Carla observed. "She focuses on what she can, and makes the most of it." On a quiet spring evening, surrounded by loved ones, Maya passed away peacefully in her sleep. News of her death spread quickly, prompting an outpouring of grief and gratitude from around the globe. Social media lit up with tributes, and vigils were held in cities across the country. At the original Soulful Bites location, customers placed flowers and handwritten notes on the doorstep, creating a makeshift memorial that grew larger each day. Her funeral was a celebration of life, attended by thousands of people from all walks of life. Speakers included former employees, mentees, activists, and even strangers whose lives she had indirectly touched. One speaker, a young woman named Tasha, summed up the sentiment of the gathering perfectly.
Maya taught us that no matter how hard life gets, we have the power to rise above it, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. She showed us that love is stronger than hate, that courage is contagious, and that together we can move.
Mountains. Today, Maya's legacy lives on in countless ways. The restaurants continue to operate under the guidance of her protégés, serving meals infused with the same warmth and purpose she championed. Soulful Futures has expanded, globally, partnering with organizations to tackle issues ranging from food insecurity to educational inequity. Murals celebrating diversity and resilience adorn walls in cities worldwide, inspired by the artwork that once graced Soulful Bites. But perhaps Maya's greatest impact lies in the hearts and minds of those she inspired. From the classroom to the boardroom, from grassroots movements to policy reforms, her influence is felt everywhere. Her story serves as a beacon of hope, reminding us that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to create change. And so, Maya Thompson's journey endures, not as a tale confined to history books or headlines, but as a living, breathing force that continues to shape the world. Through her courage, compassion, and unwavering belief in humanity, she proved that one person truly can make a difference. Her life was a testament to the idea that love, unity, and resilience will always triumph over hatred and division. In the heart of the city, where Soulful Bites still stands tall, visitors pause to read the plaque mounted outside. It reads, "Dedicated to Maya Thompson, a woman who believed in the power of community and the strength of the human spirit. May her legacy inspire us all to stand tall and build a better tomorrow." And indeed it does.